everyone, CYPRUS here. Welcome back to my channel and thank you for joining me for another video. Now, if you've seen my previous video, you would have heard me tell the story of how I unwittingly bought a fake silver eagle. This fake silver eagle. Now, for the more experienced among you, you'll be able to tell straight off that this doesn't look quite right. But at the time that I bought this, I didn't know any better. But in addition to that, I bought it from someone that I had dealt with on several occasions, was a reliable and trusted source, and when I found out that it was fake, I got in touch with him, and he was absolutely appalled that it had got by him, and he offered me a full refund and even let me keep the coin as a little souvenir. But this wasn't the first fake piece of silver that I'd bought since I'd started. Very early on, before I really knew where to look, where to buy from, and what exactly I was looking for, I found a couple of antique shops and saw that they had coins for sale. So as I was rummaging through, I found this 1888 Morgan silver dollar, and it's also got an S mint mark, which indicates that it was minted at the San Francisco Mint. And as I was doing a little bit of research, being new to coin collecting and stacking, I searched 1888 S Morgan dollar and discovered that the value on these can be considerably higher than what I paid for it. So I thought either A, the guy that sold it to me didn't know what he had and I'd gotten incredibly lucky, or B, something wasn't quite right. So I started asking questions about how do I verify that this is indeed real. I also looked to YouTube, looked up silver testing, coin testing, and found a load of videos offering simple tests that I could do at home with very basic equipment to verify that something would be real or fake. So I thought I'd share that information to help people avoid making the same mistakes. Now, I know there are other videos on YouTube with the same information, but I figured one more can't hurt. The more information there is out there on how to check your coins, the better. So, what are these tests? First, we have a simple weights and measures. So I have a small scale and a pair of calipers, and for comparison I have a fake eagle and a fake Morgan, and I have a real eagle and the real Morgan. So we can compare and see what's what. We'll start with weighing them. Now, this is just a cheap and cheerful scale I got off eBay. It has various modes. We'll stick to grams. Let's go with the eagles first. This one weighs 31.69 grams. Now that's a pretty decent weight. It's not too far off 31.1 grams, which is what a troy ounce should be. And we can check that. The real one, 31.31. So also a little bit over. So pretty close. Now, the Morgans, doing a little bit of research, a Morgan dollar should weigh 26.73 grams. So if we check this one, 22 grams, and that's not a good sign. This one I know is real, 26.75, so pretty much spot on. So this is a fairly conclusive result. This one weighs considerably less than this one, so that's not at all right. But with the eagles being a very similar weight, do we just conclude that this is also real, or do we do some further testing just to be sure? That's where our trusty calipers come in. Now, again, this is just cheap and cheerful off eBay or Amazon, but you can get much more accurate but more expensive ones. So let's see. Again, doing a little bit of research, we know a standard American silver eagle should be 40.6 millimeters in diameter, and it should be 2.98 millimeters thick. So let's have a quick look, and we have 40.71. You can rotate the coin a little bit. 40.70, 40.69. You see, these aren't perfect. You need to bear in mind they are minted in their millions, so they're not going to be exact every time, but pretty close. The fake, however, is coming up a little bit short, so 39.99. if we rotate it, 39.97, 39.97. So the diameter is not quite right, but then the thickness, and even just comparing them side by side, you can see it's a little bit thicker, but the real one should be 2.98, 2.84 is a little bit under, 2.86, 2.9, so the fake one is coming up quite a bit over 3.31, 3.37, again depending on where you get it, 3.30. So we see it's smaller in diameter but thicker to make up the weight. Now, another test is the magnet test. Now, silver isn't magnetic. Now, in this instance, neither is the counterfeit. But if you take a small rare earth magnet, neodymium magnet, hold the coin at a bit of an angle, See, the magnet has a nice slow slide down the coin, whereas on the fake it falls quite a bit faster. And we can do the same test with the Morgans. Forgot to measure them, so let's do that. Even though we know from the weight, a Morgan should be 38.1 millimeters and 2.4 millimeters in thickness. Now the real one, $38.29, so a little bit over. 38.27, 38.22, but we're talking fractions of a millimeter. And the thickness, .49, 2.55, so not far off. And the fake, 37.94, so a little bit under. 37.99, and the thickness 2.54, so not far off in the measurements either. So unlike the Eagle where the weight was correct but the measurements were off, the Morgan, the measurements are fairly good, but the weight's off. So that's the beauty of having these different methods of testing, because most of the time, if one number's accurate, the other won't be, or vice versa. So let's also do the magnet test on these. See the real one, nice slow roll on the magnet. The fake, as we said, silver isn't magnetic, so that there is also a dead giveaway. Now, the last test that I'd heard about was something called a ping test, and that's where you hold the coin, balance it on your finger, and you strike it with another coin and listen for the sound. But it takes an experienced ear to be able to tell what's real and what's not. So is that good? Is that better? I don't know. Also, I don't like taking the risk of balancing the coin on my finger. And that's where I discovered this little device. It's called a pocket pinger, and it's basically like a little clamp. It has these silicone jaws. You can hold the coin in between, and it comes with a little stick. You can use this to strike the coin. Much less likely to damage it, much less likely to drop it. And then the difference in the sound. You can tell there's a distinct difference. But again, if you're not experienced how do you know what's real and what's not? Now in this instance they both ring quite nicely. When it comes to the Eagles, has a much longer ring, and that's where the people who developed the pocket pinger also developed an app to go with it, and that samples the sound and can tell you if the coin is real or not. Now, I don't have another device handy to demonstrate this in the video, but I'll put a link to their video in the description of my video. Now, in addition to the Eagle and the Morgan, when I was first looking at getting into stacking and collecting, I saw an advert for some 1 ounce silver bars, but the advert itself raised a lot of red flags because they were advertising a 1 ounce 999 silver bar for only €10, and that just didn't sound right to me at all. So I spoke to the seller and inquired if the bars were indeed silver, and I was met with some ums and ahs and I think so and I'm not sure, and it just didn't sound right to me. So I steered well clear. And that also reminded me of the little saying, if something seems too good to be true, there's something wrong. But it also taught me that making the right inquiries can save you a load of hassle. For example, if you buy something from a souvenir shop, as nice as it might look, the likelihood of it being of any true value is slim. If you buy something from an antique shop or a private individual, don't be afraid to ask if you can test it before you buy it. Obviously, non-destructive tests like weighing, measuring, the magnet test, because I was lucky enough that the 2 coins that I did buy that turned out to be fake, I was able to get refunds on. But I could have been met with some resistance whereby they could have said, how do I know it's the same coin? You might have gone home and switched it over, and then I would have been left at a loss. Now, since those days, I've made some very good connections. I buy things from people I trust, but even then, just for my own peace of mind, because people can make mistakes, even experienced sellers, I still test everything that I get in so that I am 100% certain that what I have is real. But I'm also more careful when I buy from people for the first time, and that came in very handy when I was in London recently. I was at a jeweller's and I saw that they had for sale 2 1 ounce silver bars, again with the silver bars, and they were at a reasonable price, so I thought I'd pick them up. But before I went through with the purchase, I thought to ask if I could test them. Luckily, the store owner had a scale and a magnet and allowed me to use them in his presence. We weighed the bars and they were coming up at just under 32 grams each. So I thought perhaps there's a little bit of extra silver in the bar, so that would have been a nice bonus. But then when I put the magnet to them, one was clearly magnetic, the magnet stuck to it, and the other, the magnet just fell straight off. And fortunately, I happened to have a Britannia with me so that I could demonstrate how the magnet should roll nice and slowly and compare. And the shopkeeper withdrew them from sale there and then. So that saved me another potentially expensive mistake. I hope this was helpful and informative. If you enjoyed it, consider giving it a like. That's it from me. Until next time, I'm CY Sterling. You've been great. Take care.